Hello, and welcome to the Ferret Business Podcast. I am your host, YemmytheFerret, aka Yemmy, and with me today are the developers of a game called the Kaiju Offensive. It's Herman and Hayden of Suspicious Ducks, a indie developer. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello!
Hi.
All their links will be down in the description below, including a link to the Razor's Edge website, which has the link to the demo of their game, the Kaiju Offensive. How are you guys today?
I'm doing rather well.
Pretty good, I guess.
How's the weather out there for you guys?
Kind of cloudy and a little chilly. Thankfully, no rain.
Yeah, we had rain all last night. Kind of I mean, it wasn't like too cold or anything like that, but it's like, rain in this time of the year. It wasn't even enough to clean off the salt from my car. I was kind of annoyed. I was like, what the hell, Mother Nature? What are you doing to me? I don't want to have to pay for a car wash.
As long as you don't wake up in the morning with a sheet of ice on your windshield.
That is true. That is not my favorite thing to do when I'm about to go to work in the morning.
And make it late, too.
So let's start off with where the name Suspicious Ducks came from, because it's a pretty unique name, and it's a pretty funny one, too.
We just wanted a name that we thought would stand out, and we thought it'd be more memorable if it was funny.
So it didn't, originate from anywhere specific, like...
We kind of got the idea from a song called March of the Sinister Ducks, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm. It was written by the same guy, I believe, who did that comic book. Was it that?
Yeah, if I remember right, it's by Alan Moore.
Oh, okay.
And also from, I believe there was a dog, either in Simpsons or Family Guy, that always had this suspicious look on its face, like it was round, didn't nobody.
Yeah, I think I remember that face that it makes. Were there any other names bouncing around your guys' head?
There were some, but I don't really remember them that well.
Those were kind of the more, I guess you could say, like normal, not so brand names.
Like
just
H&H.
They didn't stick out.
Yeah.
They were meant to be funny, but this seemed to be the best one.
Just kind of rolled right off the tongue.
Yeah. And I really like your guys' little gift that you have on Twitter with the duck looking back and forth. Very suspicious, like.
Like, I always just gotta be on the lookout. You never know what's gonna happen.
So let's start back at the beginning. How did you guys meet? And then also, how did you both become interested in working on a game together?
Well, we've been friends pretty much forever.
Yeah. And all the way through, 2 years old, through high school.
Oh,
and
wow.
then we kept in touch in college. I went to a college in Austin. He went to San Angelo. And then we graduated, and then we just kind of decided to work on something together. We didn't even know what until we just came up with the idea of a game, a video game.
So what was your guys' major in college? Did it help with the development of the game?
Well, I did computer science.
And I went to the Art Institutes in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Even if you could say that.
So when did you guys first start working on the game itself?
Inception of it happened about, 2 years? 2 years ago?
About.
We were fiddling around with ideas at the time, and then we discovered the engine that we're using to make the game now, and then we just kind of did some kaiju doodles. I guess like the early concepts for the kaijus. Went off after that.
So have there been any hardships while going through the game currently, or triumphs?
Really many hardships.
Well, there's always bugs and the machine not wanting to work properly.
One area. Triumphs. Mostly we're getting closer to getting it finished. And mostly it's just liking the game is one of the big triumphs. Seeing them play it, say good things about it, just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
in itself is probably one of the best triumphs.
And we seem to be well liked on Twitter.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, is to have a nice media presence out there. For you guys specifically, like what's the best thing about being on social media and having people play your game and getting to watch them to play the game?
Well, pretty much the best way to advertise it, because we don't have our own website or anything, and probably not many people would see it.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys just help get the word out and draws more people in. So we owe a lot to them.
How'd you guys meet up with or get to know Razor's Edge and get on his website?
We just met him on Twitter. He came to us and asked if we wanted to be on the site.
Yeah, that's cool of him. I'm glad that he's out there helping out the indie developers.
Just like a random thing that turned out to be very good for us.
And yeah, people can actually download the game. I have it on my computer as well. Played around with it a lot. Like you guys said the last time we talked, the hard mode is almost impossible.
Yeah, I can barely get through it, and I had to play it to test for bugs.
Mm-hmm.
I think you use the invincibility frames too to test out a lot of the bugs like earlier.
Mostly when we recorded the earlier trailers. That's why I had an invincibility mode on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just constantly recording deaths.
So it would deplete your confidence in the game.
So was the hard mode originally the normal mode on the game, if I remember correctly?
Before I started working on the demo, that was the default.
Ah, that might have steered a few people away if they had played that hard of a game originally.
And that's why he added the easy normal mode.
Yeah, the easy mode was my speed. So, what are some of the criticisms that you've heard from the game, whether it be on social media or people playing it on YouTube? But what are some of the criticisms people have been saying? Have there been any?
I remember a lot of people didn't like the old menu, the really basic one that's in the demo.
That was more because we wanted just to add the content into the game first and worry about that specific piece later.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've heard mention of something we already knew about, kind of, that the kaiju you can play in the demo sometimes gets stuck on buildings. We have that fixed in the dev build now, but demo.
Speaking of the dev build, when is do you have like a timetable for when the game is going to be available to the public? Like the whole game?
We're aiming for the first quarter of the new year.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's pretty close, actually.
Assuming everything works out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things people can expect to see in the main build of the game? More kaiju, more enemies, etc.?
Definitely more kaiju. The one of the newer trailers we have actually showcases the 4 main kaiju we plan to put into the game upon its release.
And if it's very successful, there may be more than 4.
As well as more levels, definitely more levels.
Definitely a lot more levels, and we already have one boss mostly working in the dev build. There's a few things to work out. But
And we have some ideas floating around about other bosses for later in the game.
That's cool.
I think also if it did really well, we wanted to add in some special maps. Kind of like...
like themed maps.
Oh, okay.
There was Santa's Village we had originally planned for, and
an alien city, like where you fight flying saucers.
Santa's Village, you would fight like we would trade in the little human soldiers for like elves, possibly with candy cane guns.
Oh, that's awesome.
Santa would be flying, or he would be invincible, but he'd be like flying around, dropping little present bombs on you, kind of like artillery.
Yeah.
And so on. So I think we also possibly had a we may have had a circus idea floating around.
Like what enemies specifically would be on that one?
I personally thought of putting like little like clowns on unicycles throwing explosives.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe and maybe like vicious animals or strong men, just random little stuff. It'd be fun.
I tell you, I would probably destroy all the clowns first, just to get them out of the way.
Do you hate clowns or are you afraid of clowns?
Oh, I don't. Let me put it this way: the first horror movie I saw when I was a kid was Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and since then, clowns have never been the same to me.
I thought you were personally going to say the first one you saw was It with
No.
old Tim Curry.
No, actually, I've never seen that one. I've seen like gifs of it, but never like seen the whole movie.
Yeah, though, Killer Clowns is definitely one of the best starter movies you could have for fearing and hating clowns.
Right. Just when they were sucking the blood out of those cotton candy, like mummies, that was it.
Ooh. No, the one person that got me was their popcorn cannon that sprouts the little clowns.
Oh yeah, that's that was something.
And then Clown Kong.
Oh jeez. Well, speaking of older like movies and actually older games.
Yeah, those are just some of the things we are wanting to add in upon the game's release and possibly later, more like just add-ons or possibly updates to the game.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, especially having like a like kind of like what Killing Floor 2 does right now is they have like a season of the Christmas maps out and the enemies are Christmas themed and then you change it over to Halloween theme or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think we wanted to add the special maps in as just like permanent, like they wouldn't be part of like the actual normal gameplay, but you could like go in, select them possibly.
Ah, okay.
And these kind of maps, they would be relatively big, confined and small, kind of like the test map in the demo game.
So
we added the new build to that.
So where did the idea for the Kaiju Offensive come from? Like, was it from watching just big monster movies or playing old Godzilla games?
Oh, it was partly inspired by a kaiju game we didn't like very much. I think it's just called Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. The one that came out right after the newer movie.
Uh-huh. Awful game.
Well, I didn't even know about it. I was at his house, and he's like, "Have you heard about the new Godzilla game?" I was like, "No." He's like, and it left me in tears. It was so bad.
And we realized that there weren't very many since a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had the video up, we would actually show you the physical copies he has of these two games. But
the two I really liked were I Was an Atomic Mutant for the PC from 2002. Popular War of the Monsters for PS2.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Is like I Was an Atomic Mutant. It features 4 distinct kaiju. There's a giant lizard, kind of like Godzilla. Second one was like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Back. And then there's a brain.
I've never really heard of that one. I'll have to check it out.
Because one of the favorite lines that he and I have in the game, in every level, you can hear these people just screaming random things.
Right.
And one of the things they say in every level is, "Where's Steve?"
and with variations too, like, anybody seen Steve?
Find Steve.
I was wondering where that was from. That's funny though.
Well, keeps us wondering, who the heck is Steve? Why is he so important?
And it's known in every city.
It's like the Tom Cruise of your game, Steve is out there doing something behind the scenes.
Yes. For the monsters it's just great. I mean, it is probably it's still a good game, even though it's for PS2.
Mm-hmm.
I have a copy of it on my PS4, downloaded from the Play Store.
Oh yeah.
They do what they've been doing with some games, like with Spyro the Reignite Trilogy, where they just improve it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy it in a heartbeat again.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, Another game we forgot about. Godzilla Saves the World.
Yeah, there we go. The PS2 era was definitely the best one for Godzilla games, hands down.
Yes, yes, because there was a normal Godzilla game, then Godzilla Saves the World, and and then there was what was that other was it the Kaiju Online game where you're like a mad scientist, you control a giant robot kaiju? What was that game?
I don't know what you're talking
No, no, it's like you play as like a mad scientist.
about. Are you talking about Kaiju A Go Go?
Yes,
That's not an online game.
but you know what I mean. Okay, but not that great.
I was wondering, for the people who buy games specifically for trophies or achievements, because they're achievement hunters, trophy hunters, whatever you want to call them. I was wondering, what kind of trophies would you want to put in the Kaiju Offensive full build?
There'd probably be some general ones, like to maybe win all the levels with every kaiju, but the one I think would be really fun is if we can put in some kind of Easter egg.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't know what it would be yet or anything, but
It could be any callback to an old giant monster game or movie.
or even something totally unrelated.
Exactly.
You
Could
put in
be
a,
like
a specific key input on the like a cheat code to spawn a Godzilla jump scare or something like that.
fun, or maybe even a kind of Easter egg like in the old adventure game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just going backwards.
Find something, go backwards, and then all of a sudden, dun, da, 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 you see the names of the developers.
Oh, you know what would be kind of funny if you guys kind of put yourselves into the game and have you like appear every so often, and if the player smashes you, they get a trophy for killing the devs.
But that is actually a very, very good idea. We didn't think about that. That'd be hilarious.
Well,
Or
there's Herman and Hayden
or
squashed on the
worse,
ground.
maybe there's a cheat code that summons a giant monster duck.
Yeah. Always suspicious though. Suspicious of the other kaiju.
Mm.
Oh, one thing I forgot to ask. Could you guys we asked about the other kaiju that are coming to the game, but I don't think you guys really described them. I know that there was one that was like a giant insect. But what about the other ones?
There's a slime monster and there's a giant alien spaceship.
And do they all have like different moves specifically tailored to the character?
They don't have any moves in common exactly. The closest is that the slime can also punch.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly the same. He has more reach, but he does it less times.
And another difference is some of the kaiju do not operate the same in how you actually control them.
They're mouse controlled.
They rely heavily on actually using the mouse, rather as where like the robot and the slime require you to use the keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Is it tough to link those commands to the characters themselves? Is it tough to program that kind of stuff?
The way we're doing it, the flyers are actually easier to make. It'd be hard to try to make the ground ones the way they're made to use the mouse.
Ah, okay. Well, the last question I had for you guys today, since I saw in one of your profiles, you guys really enjoy pen and paper games. What kind of pen and paper games are we talking about here? Dungeons and Dragons, or is there a different one?
Dungeons and Dragons is definitely up the top of the list.
Not for me. I do like it too, but for me the top one is either the Call of Cthulhu RPG or one.
40K or fantasy.
Both of them. I kind of count them as one game. They use the same stats.
Would you guys ever want to design your own pen and paper game? Or have you designed one?
Actually, an idea we had thought of before. It was one of the earlier ideas we had about what to do together, but we decided to go for just a regular video game first. My own opinion, I would love to put a pen and paper game out there, join the high echelons of the pen and paper world.
do you think the pen and paper games are dying out, or do you think people still play them almost as much as they play video games?
I know a lot of people who play them, and there are a lot more of them coming out online, so they seem to be doing well.
If they're holding strong, and they might hold strong for 100 more years or something, I don't know.
Well, I think one of the main draws for pen and paper games is the fact that you are the person controlling that character no matter what. A lot of Telltale games or RPG games, you are a character who can do a lot, but this pen and paper games are the games that are truly choose your own adventure.
You can do anything your character can.
Yeah.
Whereas, the one draw about video games is that even if it has many choices, like many BioWare games, the choices are still very restricted.
Mm-hmm.
It's not truly as open as a pen and paper is, which is pure open.
Well, hey, I just want to thank you guys for coming onto the podcast and doing this with me. It's been real interesting talking to you guys about the development process and all the kinds of things Kaiju related. Remember that you can go into the description and get the game demo on razorsedge.org. The link will be down below, and also the Twitter and their YouTube channel will be linked as well. Herman and Hayden, is there anything else you guys want to say before we end the podcast?
That I can think of.
I would probably just say thank you to everybody who has played the game. Thank you for reviewing it, telling us how you feel about it, and whatever criticisms you've had to make it better.
Well, all right. As always, I am your host, YemmytheFerret, and this has been another episode of the Ferret Business Podcast.